So providing information to the people, it should be citizen friendly, and we must know that democracy and transparency go hand in hand. So democracy and transparency go hand in hand, and transparency will be provided when you have information. Therefore, democracy and transparency go hand in hand, and transparency will be ensured through RTI, that is Right to Information Act. But all the information should not be shared. The information that is important for the security and integrity of the state need not to be shared, because people and democracy will exist only if the territorial integrity of the state is intact. So the information that will hamper the security and integrity of the state should not be shared, because the people and democracy will exist only if their territorial integrity of the state is intact. If sharing of the information jeopardizes the security of the nation, then information need not to be shared. Information that affect the lives of the people should be shared, and information that will serve the longer public interest should be revealed to the public, and this will also enhance the accountability. So providing information to the public on the basis of which decision has been taken, people will be in better position to enforce accountability as well. So when you provide information to the public on the basis of which government has taken a decision, then people will be in better position to enforce accountability on the government. And Article 19 of Universal Declaration of Human Rights talk about that everyone has right to freedom of opinion and expression, and you can express and give your opinion when you have information. Therefore, everybody has right to hold freedom, have the freedom to hold opinion, and they have right to seek, impart and receive information. So everyone has right to seek, impart and receive information, as well as they have freedom to hold opinion, and information is the key. If we talk about 1987, there was Aruna Roy. She was an IAS officer. She resigned and rendered her life to serve the poor and marginalized section of the society. So she is Aruna Roy. She is the founder of Mazdoor Kisan Shakti Sangathan, born in 1946. So she is Aruna Roy, born in 1946, 75 years old. She is an ex-civil servant. She is a former civil servant. So she was an IAS officer. She resigned and rendered her life to serve the poor and marginalized section of the society. So Aruna Roy with others found Mazdoor Kisan Shakti Sangathan in 1987, Mazdoor Kisan Shakti Sangathan, and they began to understand the root cause of the non-payment of the wages to the people. That people were employed but they were not paid wages. Therefore, they conducted research and found that they were denied information asked by them. So they were denied information asked by them. In April 1996, Mazdoor Kisan Shakti Sangathan announced a strike in Rajasthan. So they announced a strike in this area in Rajasthan, and exposed systematic corruption across Rajasthan. They exposed the systematic corruption of Rajasthan, and the demand was of RTI. So they demanded RTI from the government. Novelty of this protest was the demand of information. They were not demanding food, shelter, employment, but they wanted information. The novelty of this protest was demand of information. How you spend money. So they were asking how you spend money that was provided by the government for the government scheme. So slogan was revolutionary. So their slogan was revolutionary, means हम जानेंगे हम जिएंगे, हम जानेंगे हम जिएंगे. Article 19, subclause 1, subclause A, Supreme Court said freedom to know is inherent in right to freedom of speech and expression. So right to information is inherent, or freedom to know is inherent in the right to freedom of speech and expression under Article 19, subclause 1, subclause A. Then Rti Act was passed in 2005. Primary objective of the RTI was to empower people. So primary objective of the RTI is to empower citizen, as an informed citizen is better equipped to keep necessary vigil on the instrument of the government. So informed citizen is better equipped to keep a necessary vigil on the instrument of the government. The best way to achieve good governance is to make people informed. So how we can achieve good governance? To make people informed about the activities of the government. So we need to make people informed if we want to achieve a good governance. Every public authority has to maintain all the records so that these records are available to public under Rti Act. So every public authority, so there is a public authority. So every public authority has to maintain all the records so that these records are available for the public under Rti Act. And there should also be a proactive disclosure of information, and the Act also calls for proactive disclosure of information. That is PDI, proactive disclosure of information. Therefore, appropriate steps should be taken to computerize these records, as it will reduce the time to give information to the public. So, and appropriate steps should also be taken to computerize these records. That will reduce the time that is needed to give information to the public. Objective, what is the objective of RTI? Is to free and transparent government and to empower people. So under Rti Act, citizen can demand information from public authority as a matter of right. So they can demand information from the public authority as a matter of right. Public authority is what is public authority? Is owned, controlled and substantially financed by the government or any body that is established by the constitution, created by the constitution or law, is a public authority. Or any NGO that is substantially controlled and financed by the government, or any body that is substantially controlled and financed by the government, will be public authority. So public authority अपॉइंट PIO. सो हर एक पब्लिक अथॉरिटी क्या अपॉइंट करेगी? PIO, दैट इज पब्लिक इन्फॉर्मेशन ऑफिसर. इन्फॉर्मेशन सीकर इज नॉट रिक्वायर्ड टू गिव रीजन फॉर सीकिंग इन्फॉर्मेशन. फॉर एग्जाम्पल, यू आर आस्किंग इन्फॉर्मेशन, you need not to give information why you are seeking information. So information seeker is not required to give the reason for the seeking information, and information has to supply within 30 days. So time limit that they have to supply the information that is asked by you within 30 days. If information concerned with the life and liberty of the people, it must be supplied within 48 hours. So if that information concerned with the life and liberty of the people, it must be supplied within 48 hours. There is a provision of appeal if there is a delay or insufficient information is provided. For example, after 30 days, even after 30 days, you don't get the information. And if information provided insufficient, then you can complain. So there is a provision appeal even if the delay and insufficient is provided, if insufficient information provided. Not all the information is provided, we must remember that. Information that will damage the security of the nation, information related to the cabinet meeting, that is not provided. Then Article 74 subclause 2, advice given by the government to the president, council or minister to the president. Council or minister give advice to the president, that cannot be inquired. Information that them is a privilege of the parliamentarians and state legislature cannot be given. तो इन्फॉर्मेशन देखो, कैबिनेट मीटिंग की इन्फॉर्मेशन एज वेल एज द एडवाइस गिवन बाय द काउंसिल ऑफ मिनिस्टर टू द प्रेसिडेंट, एंड ऑल्सो इन्फॉर्मेशन दैट विल डैमेज द प्रिविलेज ऑफ द parliamentarians and state legislature cannot be provided. So question is, were RTI successful? RTI is considered as a huge instrument in our fight against corruption. So RTI is considered as a huge instrument in our fight against corruption. Aadhaar, for example, Adarsh house security scam. So there was a Adarsh house society scam. So there was a Adarsh house society scam. Then there was a Commonwealth scam, 2G scam. So all these kind of scams were unheard when RTI was used by citizen to gather information. So all these, the Adarsh housing society scam, Commonwealth scam, 2G scam were unearthed when RTI was used by the people, by the citizen to gather information. So RTI has improved the life of the people by making government transparent and accountable. So it has improved the life of the people by making government accountable and transparent. Case of absconding teacher. We see some of the successful example of RTI. There is a case of absconding teachers. So parents of the Panchapura village, UP, that is local teachers were not attending school. So in the Panchapuram village, the parents of the Panchapuram village, UP, so it is Panchapuram village, UP in Lalitpur district. So there is a Panchapuram village in the Lalitpur district. So parents of the Panchapuram village, UP, local school teachers were not attending school. Then 15 villages filed RTI application about the teacher absence and questioned the responsibility of the education department in such situation. And because of the RTI filed by them, new teachers were appointed and inquiry was initiated against these absconding teachers. That therefore RTI ensured transparency and accountability. There was a case of 7 ponds in 2010. K.S. Sagaria. So there was a K.S. Sagaria. He see that ponds were built, but there was no pond. People could not locate these ponds. In K.S. Sagaria, that people were sure that 7 ponds were constructed for BPL families in Kushmahal village in Odisha, in a village in Odisha, in Kushmahal village. No one could locate these ponds in the village. Ponds were never constructed. So scam was unheard when people involved in it were exposed. So scam was unheard and people involved in it were exposed. Now pond construction started for real and people vowed to keep check on its progress. So people vowed to keep check on its progress. And there was a case of school uniform were not delivered. Then they filed RTI and school uniform were also delivered. What are the problem with the Rti Act? So one is that there's an inaction on the reform which are needed for the effective implementation of RTI. So there's an inaction on reforms. IOR, that is inaction or reform which are needed for the effective implementation of Rti Act. In its decades-long existence, Rti Act has managed to bring transparency by exposing slew of corruption cases running in thousands of crores. So in its decades-long existence, the Act has managed to bring transparency by exposing slew of corruption cases running into 1,000 crore. For example, accountability and routine working of the, that is get to take roots. of this PO. PO means, that is public officer, is to take routes. A majority of India is still find it difficult to gather information. Majority of Indians still find it very difficult to gather information. There are delays, and many times, in many cases, insufficient information is provided, and there is a problem of pendency of cases. More than 90 lakh cases are pending, and there is a delay. Delay means you are undermining the citizens' right to know. Survey, there was a survey done, that is information seeker survey found. So there was an information seeker survey. So that was explained in the key issues and constraint in implementing Rti Act. So there are some issues in demand side as well as supply side issue. Demand side issue means where the people ask information, there is low awareness, and supply side constraint that the public officer is not trained. PIO appointed is not trained. Training is not provided to them. So issue in demand side, one is low public awareness. There's a low public awareness. So there are some demand side issue, there are some supply side. Demand side, there are citizen and past applicants. So citizens are that whether they have sought information under RTI or not, and there's a past applicants who have applied for right to information. What are the issues in the demand side? One, there is a low public awareness. Awareness is major source of awareness were that mass media and channels like television, channel and newspaper, TCN. That is NCT, the newspaper, channels and television. And other is word of mouth. Meaning of word of mouth is spoken communication as a means of transmitting information. मतलब बोल के किसी बात को बताना. This is word of mouth. और सारी states में awareness among the women was found low as compared to men. रूरल पॉपुलेशन की बात करें, अवेयरनेस इन रूरल पॉपुलेशन इज लो एज कम्पेयर टू अर्बन पॉपुलेशन. एंड अगर अवेयरनेस देखें OBC ST कैटेगरी में लो है एज कम्पेयर टू जनरल कैटेगरी के लोग में. तो इस तरीके से ग्राफ है दैट मेल 26% है तो फीमेल 12%. यहाँ पे OBC ST में अगर जनरल में 27% अवेयर है एंड OBC SC ST में सिर्फ 14%. रूरल एरिया में 30% तो अर्बन एरिया में 33% अवेयर है. तो यहाँ पे डिस्क्रिमिनेशन अवेयरनेस में मेल फीमेल जनरल वर्सेस OBC SC एंड ST एंड अर्बन एंड रूरल अवेयरनेस लेवल. और अगर क्वालिटी ऑफ अवेयरनेस की बात करें, सो क्वालिटी ऑफ RTI अवेयरनेस इज अमंग द कॉमन पब्लिक इज सिग्निफिकेंटली लो. सो बहुत कम अवेयरनेस ऑन द प्रोविजन ऑफ अपील्स एंड कंप्लेंट्स. इसके बारे में बतानी है कि अगर उन्हें इन्फॉर्मेशन नहीं मिली है PIO से तो वो कंप्लेन भी कर सकते हैं. सिर्फ 48% अवेयरनेस, इसमें 20% ने ही यूज़ किया है. यहाँ पे असिस्टेंस नहीं है. देयर इज अ लैक ऑफ असिस्टेंट्स इन फाइलिंग RTI एप्लीकेशन. सो कंक्लूजन देखें तो एनालिसिस ऑफ द इशू हाईलाइटेड द सेक्शन. इट इज क्लियर दैट अप्रोप्रिएट गवर्नमेंट्स एंड द पब्लिक अथॉरिटी हैव टेकन inadequate स्टेप टू मेक RTI प्रोसेस सिटीजन फ्रेंडली. तो बहुत ज़्यादा inadequate स्टेप लिए, कुछ ज़्यादा स्टेप्स लिए नहीं है टू मेक RTI प्रोसेस सिटीजन फ्रेंडली. द प्रोसेस ऑफ RTI एप्लीकेशन सबमिशन हैज़ टू बी डिजाइन कीपिंग इन व्यू द नीड्स एंड कन्वीनियंस ऑफ द सिटीजन. सो the process of RTI application submission need to be designed keeping in the view the needs and convenience of the citizen. And then the information is a poor quality of information is provided. It is said that more than 75% of the citizens are dissatisfied with the quality of information being provided. So what are the issue with the supply side? Their failure to provide information within 30 days. So more than 50% information seeker mentioned that it took more than 30 days to receive information from the PIO. So what can be the conclusion? That public authorities need to meet the requirements of the Rti Act to review their current record keeping procedures and other constraints and plan out resources. And according to the Rti Act, information has to be provided within the stipulated time. It is known the fact that record keeping process within the government is a big challenge. And the problem further aggravated due to the non-availability of the trained PIs. So there is no trained PIs, there is a non-availability of trained PIs and enable infrastructure. For example, there is no computer scanners, internet connectivity, photo copiers, etc. Therefore, public authority need to meet the requirements of Rti Act to review their current record keeping procedure and other constraint and plan out the resources. Another problem is there is an inadequate trained PIs and first appellate authorities. So under a study, only 55% of the surveyed PIs have received RTI training. Only 55% have received RTI training. There is a lack of behavioral training. It is observed that training provided to the PIOs restricted to Rti Act. But what is the bare minimum? The PI are expected to provide assistance to the applicants and manage official record as per the record management guidelines. They should manage the official record as per the record management guidelines. So training of the PIO has been a big challenge, primarily due to huge number of PIOs to be trained and frequent transfer of PIOs to other post. तो इसका एग्जाम्पल हो सकता है that there are a large number of non-profit organizations which are carrying out training in official and unofficial capacity. These are untapped resources which could be utilized by public authority, appropriate government and training institutions. So they can utilize the untapped resources of a non-profit organization which are carrying the training in official and unofficial capacities. And there is a obsolete record management guidelines. So there is an ineffective record management system and collection of information from the field officer, leading to delay in processing of the RTI application. We talk about analysis and conclusion. That current record management guidelines at the center and in most of the state is not geared to meet the requirement specified under the Rti Act. So there is no current record management guidelines at the center and most of the state are not geared to meet the requirement specified under Rti Act, and there is a lack of any electronic document management system in any of the department. And then majority of PIO survey do not even maintain a list of RTA applications electronically. So only laying down the detailed procedure by themselves would not suffice. A permanent mechanism with sufficient authority, expertise and responsibility need to be created in each public authority to coordinate, supervise and proper record keeping. So authority focusing on the RTI and inter alia focusing on the record keeping guidelines. So inter alia means among other things. The committee recommended inter alia that he to be promoted. Inter alia means among other things. So inter alia means among other things. The paper discussed among other things political, economic and social issues. So report it concerned inter alia with the reforms of the tax system. Among other means अन्य बातों के अलावा, among other things. So पेपर ने डिस्कस किया दूसरी बातों के अलावा पॉलिटिकल, इकोनॉमिक एंड सोशल इशू. पेपर डिस्कस इंटर आलिया. So the report is concerned inter alia among other things, मतलब और सबके साथ with the reforms of the tax system. मतलब बहुत सारी चीज़ें थी उनके साथ. They were discussed the reform of the tax system. The committee recommended बहुत सारी चीज़ों के साथ inter alia मतलब और सब चीज़ों के साथ that he need to be promoted. So therefore the inadequacy can be linked to the absence of institutional mechanism in public authority focusing on RTI and inter alia among other things और सबके साथ focusing on the record keeping guidelines. And another problem is the non-availability of basic infrastructure, and that hamper the RTI implementation at public authority level. And there was a limited use of RTI in delivering the right to information applications. So how to improve infrastructure? The ARC report has mentioned that Government of India may allocate 1% of the funds of the flagship program for a period of 5 years for improving the infrastructure requirement. 1% of the fund for 5 years for improving the infrastructure requirement. However, this has not been implemented, so but it was recommended by ARC report. Another problem is the lack of motivation among the PIOs. There is an ineffective implementation of section 1 subclause 4 subclause 1, that they have to disseminate information on suo motu basis, that is said in section 4 subclause 1 subclause B, but there is an ineffective implementation of this section. And there is a problem of perception of being lenient towards the PIOs, as penalty is imposed in very few cases. And problem is there's a lack of monitoring and review mechanism. So one of the most important roles of the Information Commission is to monitor and review the public authority and initiate an action to make them comply with the spirit of the Act. So they have to comply with the spirit of the Act. Another problem that there is a high level of pendency. So the pendency of the Information Commission is a huge challenge unless and until the pendency is kept at the manageable level. The objective of the Act would not be met. High pendency of the appeals is due to non-optimal process of disposing of appeals and complaints. So high pendency, what is the reason of high pendency? Is due to non-optimal process for disposing of appeals and complaints. So there should be an optimal procedure for disposing of the appeals and complaints. Then there is another problem, that is geographical spread of information commissioners, as most of the information commissioners are situated in the state capital. will result in applicants undergoing an additional cost in order to attend the hearing. If they have to attend the hearing, they have to undergo additional complaints. The analysis that benefit of setting up regional officers will as far outweigh the initial capital cost involved in setting up them. So summarizing the issue, that public authority have to enhance the level of ownership to ensure that RTI delivery happens as per the spirit of the Act. So RTI delivery happens as per the spirit of the Act. So we need to identify the gaps in their officer in the delivery of information. So we must support, the government must support to the public authorities for training and e-training modules and generating awareness among the citizens. The role of the central and state government is to facilitate the public authorities to implement the Act. However, till the time the Information Commission assumed the role of ensuring compliance with the Rti Act by the various public authority, there would not be any control mechanism. The state government has to play a facilitative role to the Information Commission through issuing the supportive rules and orders to the public awareness, to the public authorities. So as majority of the India still finds, the majority of Indians still find it difficult to gather information. There are delays, insufficient information provided, and there is a problem of pendency of the cases. More than 90 lakh cases are pending, and there is a delay, and is undermining the citizens' right to know. So there was an information seeker survey. They found that 75% of citizens are dissatisfied with the quality of information provided by PO. So 75% of citizens were dissatisfied with the quality of information provided by PIO. And PIOs are not properly trained or equipped to handle the responsibility of supplying information. They are not properly trained or equipped to handle this responsibility of supplying information. 45% of the PIO are not undergone any training under RTI. So 45% of PIO has not undergone any training under the RTI Act. So 45% of PIO has not undergone any training related to the RTI Act. There is a problem of lack of comprehensive capacity building efforts. So there is a lack of comprehensive capacity building efforts. That is what is making it very difficult for them to process and the bulking information. And PIO has not been trained to process this bulky information. So State Information Commission do not have authority to enforce its recommendation, and this authority rests with the state government. So State Information Commission do not have authority to enforce its recommendation. This authority rests with the state governments. And state government has shown negligence in the implementing the recommendation of SIC. So state government has shown negligence. So implementing power lies with the state government, and state government has shown negligence in implementing a recommendation of SIC. SIC, the State Information Commission, lack power of enforceability of its order, and even penalties imposed are not recovered. So second ERC report recommended the union government some reform to the RTI. According to Department of Personal Training, advice to the state government that ensure that 1% of the expenditure should be reserved for the digitization of the record. But this has not been implemented. The state government has not accepted the recommendation of the second ARCs. It has been only directive, therefore no implementation of this provision has taken place. So various CIC has recommended government that they require budgetary allocation to train officers, so information is seamlessly provided to the public without any interruption. They can use this money to create awareness regarding the RTI. Lack of infrastructure with the PIO, with the public officer, both at district and village level. So there is a lack of infrastructure at PO both at district and village level, make it dissemination of information about the welfare scheme practically impossible. And there is a lack of awareness that result into the divide between urban and rural India. Urban areas has multiple sources of information, for example, newspaper, media, television, internet, etc. Rural media are mostly depend on the government channels for information. Majority of the RTI applicants are below poverty line citizens living in the urban areas. Statistics tell us 86% of the RTI application filed and majority of them belong to urban areas. And rural based user is minuscule minority, that is 14%. Rural based user is minuscule minority, that is only 14%. So what is the objective of the RTI? Is to free flow of information, more specifically at the grassroots level. There is a lack of awareness at the grassroots level is stumbling block. There is like a stumbling block in the implementation of RTI. So there is a lack of awareness at the grassroots level is a stumbling block in the implementation of RTI Act. Stumbling block in the implementation of RTI. So what is the problem? That is but means there is a lack of budgetary. B say budgetary. There is a lack of budgetary support. U say urban rural divide, and T say there is a lack of training. सी से रहे तो बी से बजटरी सपोर्ट नहीं है, यू से अर्बन रूरल डिवाइड है, सी से ट्रेनिंग नहीं है. So government accustomed to function in a secrecy. So our government is accustomed to function in secrecy, and the wheel of the secrecy has taken away by the RTI. So the wheel of secrecy has taken away by the RTI. A lot has been done, a lot remain to be done. A lot has been done and a lot remain to be done to make transparency and accountability a regular feature of governance in India. So a lot has been done, a lot remain to be done to make transparency and accountability a regular feature of governance in India. So rural and urban divide contradicts the foremost objective of bringing information empowerment of the masses and grassroots. So this rural urban divide contradicts the foremost objective of bringing the information empowerment of the masses at the grassroots level. And the urban weakness lies in the weak implementation of the Rti Act. Solution is that increase the authority of the implementing agency. SIC is not the implementing authority. The power rests with the state government. So we need to increase the authority of the implementing agencies. तो यहाँ पे क्या होता है, एक चीफ इंफॉर्मेशन कमिश्नर होते हैं और कम से कम और मैक्सिमम 10 इंफॉर्मेशन कमिश्नर हो सकते हैं. लेकिन यहाँ पे क्या है, अभी कितने हैं, 6. ये सेंट्रल लेवल पे होता है. और ऐसे स्टेट लेवल पे होता है चीफ इंफॉर्मेशन कमिश्नर और मैक्सिमम 10 इंफॉर्मेशन कमिश्नर. तो प्रेसिडेंट अपॉइंट करता है एंड इज अपॉइंटेड ऑन द रिकमेंडेशन ऑफ प्राइम मिनिस्टर एज चेयरमैन, लीडर पोजीशन लोकसभा एंड यूनियन कैबिनेट मिनिस्टर दैट इज अपॉइंट बाई प्राइम मिनिस्टर. तो पहले क्या होता था यहाँ पे, एक तो सेंट्रल लेवल पे 13 डील करता है एंड सेक्शन 16 स्टेट लेवल पे. तो यहाँ पे 5 साल और 65 ईयर्स इतना था इनकी यहाँ पे टर्म ऑफ द सेंट्रल चीफ इंफॉर्मेशन कमीशन. और यहाँ पे जो सैलरी अलाउंसेस थे वो चीफ इलेक्शन कमीशन के बराबर थे, CIC के, और अदर इलेक्शन कमिश्नर के बराबर थे. अब चेंज क्या कर रहे हैं कि यहाँ पे कितनी इनकी सैलरी होगी वो कौन डिसाइड करेगा, सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट. चीफ इलेक्शन कमिश्नर के बराबर नहीं होंगे. सो अमेंडमेंट ने क्या बोला है, दैट अपॉइंटमेंट विल बी फॉर एनी सच टर्म विल बी प्रिस्क्राइब्ड बाय द सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट. स्टेट इलेक्शन जो स्टेट इन्फॉर्मेशन कमिश्नर था उसका इलेक्शन कमिश्नर के बराबर था, और इन्फॉर्मेशन जो स्टेट इन्फॉर्मेशन कमिश्नर उनका बराबर था. अलाउंसेज एंड सैलरी अलाउंसेज उनके बराबर थी एंड टर्म्स ऑफ सर्विस बराबर थी. चीफ सेक्रेटरी ऑफ द स्टेट गवर्नमेंट के हिसाब के बराबर थी, चीफ सेक्रेटरी ऑफ स्टेट गवर्नमेंट. और यहाँ पे भी चाहे स्टेट गवर्नमेंट पे भी, यहाँ पे भी जो टर्म है वो भी सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट ही डिसाइड करेगी, चाहे स्टेट पे चीफ इन्फॉर्मेशन कमिश्नर हो या इन्फॉर्मेशन कमिश्नर हो, चाहे सेंटर पे स्टेट इन्फॉर्मेशन कमिश्नर और उसके इन्फॉर्मेशन कमिश्नर हो. सबके टर्म्स जो भी होंगे वो कौन डिसाइड करेगा, सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट. इफ द सैलरी अलाउंसेस शैल बी सच एस मे बी प्रिस्क्राइब बाय द सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट. तो गवर्नमेंट बोली जो इलेक्शन कमिश्नर ऑफ इंडिया है कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन बॉडी अंडर आर्टिकल 324, लेकिन जो सेंट्रल इन्फॉर्मेशन कमिश्नर है, स्टेट इन्फॉर्मेशन कमिश्नर क्या है, स्टैट्यूटरी बॉडी अंडर द RTI एक्ट ऑफ 2005. तो इनको इक्वेट कैसे कर सकते हैं. Therefore, their status and service condition need to be rationalized accordingly. तो इससे प्रॉब्लम क्या होगी, इट विल मेक कमिश्नर मोर लॉयल टू द गवर्नमेंट बिकॉज सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट विल डिसाइड एवरीथिंग दैट टेन्योर एंड सैलरीज. देयरफॉर द इन्फॉर्मेशन कमिश्नर विल बिकम मोर लॉयल टू द गवर्नमेंट. यहाँ पे एब्सोल्यूट गवर्नमेंट सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट के पास आ गया. देयरफॉर वो सेंट्रल इन्फॉर्मेशन ये क्या करनी चाहेंगी, ह्यूज वेस्टेड इंटरेस्ट होगा, ठीक है, सीनियर ब्यूरोक्रेसी में. तो इसलिए वो इंडिपेंडेंट रहेगी और गवर्नमेंट को खुश करने की कोशिश करेंगे. तो 15th लोकसभा में अराउंड 70% बिल पार्लियामेंट्री कमिटीज़ को भेजे गए, लेकिन 16th लोकसभा की बात करें सिर्फ 26% बिल पार्लियामेंट्री कमिटीज़ को भेजे गए.